You've probably seen it before. A British official, standing tall, condemning some historical atrocity committed by another country. Maybe it's the Holodomor in Ukraine, maybe it's a modern human rights crisis. The words are strong, the moral certainty is absolute. But for many people, especially those from former colonies, this performance rings hollow. It feels like watching someone with a megaphone, pointing it at everyone else's problems while keeping their own history on mute. The problem isn't that Britain condemns evil acts. The problem is which ones it chooses to shout about. When it comes to the crimes of its old rivals like the Soviet Union, the volume is cranked to the max. But when it comes to the British Empire, a deafening silence. Let's talk about that silence. Over 2 centuries of British rule in India, a series of famines swept the land, leading to the deaths of tens of millions of people. This wasn't just bad luck or poor weather. These were disasters made worse, and often directly caused by colonial policy. Take the Bengal Famine of 1943, where up to 3 million people starved to death. Why? Well, even as people were dying, grain was being exported from India. Revenue and the war effort were prioritized over the lives of Indian subjects. The British Army even seized thousands of boats and huge amounts of rice from the local population in Bengal, crippling their ability to feed themselves and get around. It was a death sentence for many. And what about the man in charge, Winston Churchill? We often hear about his leadership during the war, but historical documents reveal a disturbing side. When told about the unfolding catastrophe in Bengal, he dismissed the crisis, even blaming the Indians for breeding like rabbits. He actively resisted sending emergency food aid that could have saved countless lives. This wasn't just a mistake. It was a colossal moral failure. It was a form of structural violence, a system that caused more deaths than many of the very events Britain now so loudly condemns. So why the double standard? Why is one tragedy a tool for political speeches, and the other a quiet, uncomfortable footnote? The answer, really, is political convenience. Condemning the Holodomor, a horrific crime of the Soviet state, is politically useful for the West. It reinforces the idea of moral superiority over old enemies and strengthens modern alliances. It doesn't require any difficult self-reflection. But acknowledging Britain's role in the Bengal Famine? That's different. That means chipping away at the myth of the benign empire, a core part of Britain's national identity. It forces a painful look inward and opens up difficult conversations about apologies and even reparations. When Britain condemns one and stays silent on the other, it creates a hierarchy of suffering. It says that atrocities committed by our enemies deserve global attention, while those committed by our own ancestors can be quietly swept under the rug. Until Britain has a serious, honest national conversation about its own history, not just admitting that bad things happened, but truly accepting responsibility for the policies that led to the deaths of millions, its voice as a global moral leader will always sound weak. To stand on a moral high ground, you first have to clean up your own backyard. Otherwise, the loud condemnations of others just sound like an attempt to drown out the awkward silence about your own past. The world isn't just listening for outrage about others. It's waiting to hear the sound of genuine self-reflection. Thanks for watching, and if you found this perspective valuable, please consider subscribing for more content that challenges the narratives we're often told.